I've always been deeply suspicious of received wisdom. You get up close to it, it can have a distinctly fishy smell. To accuse a serving Prime Minister of lying to Parliament, to the world, about Saddam's weapons of mass destruction is an incredibly serious allegation. I don't believe it for one split second. Every government in the world believed that Saddam Hussein had WMDs and was in a position to use them. And they believed that beyond the fall of Baghdad for a while. That was how deep the belief went. The fact is, as we know now, that the intelligence was absolutely rubbish. And it's not the first time that intelligence has been completely wrong on something extremely important. Right up until the German V weapons began to drop on London and the southeast in 1944, the British government, led by Churchill, didn't believe in the existence of those weapons. But you didn't see Churchill hauled up before an inquiry in 1946 or 47 or 48. They accepted that it was a genuine mistake. Why did Blair think that Saddam would use these weapons? Well, clearly because he'd used them before, and we've just seen Chemical Ali strung up for doing just that. And we must remember the atmosphere at the time. It was shortly after 9/11, and 9/11 did change everything. It's also important to remember that governments do use spin to take their countries to war. The 45-minute claim was a classic example of spin, but look back at some of Margaret Thatcher's speeches that took us into the Falklands War. Spin City. I'm always astonished at the blunt certainty with which some people say that the war was illegal. How can they really know? International law is incredibly complicated. But at the end of the day, if the Attorney General, however many times he may have changed his mind, comes down on the side of legality and tells the Prime Minister that, who's to argue? I was particularly interested by what Tony Blair told the inquiry last week about weapons of mass destruction versus regime change, when he made the blindingly obvious point that if you send your armies into Iraq to get rid of the rockets, had they been there, having got rid of them, you wouldn't leave Saddam in place. So getting rid of the weapons and regime change are one and the same thing. For me, the most intriguing question thus far in Chilcot is this. It's the so-called 2010 question that Tony Blair asked last week. Where would we be now in 2010 if we hadn't invaded in 2003? And you know what? I haven't heard one of Tony Blair's critics give an answer to that question.